that. Now, in 2012, Benjamin Brooks-Dutton was walking back to his North London home with his wife and 2-year-old son when an 85-year-old motorist mounted the pavement.
Well, the elderly driver killed Ben's wife and was subsequently jailed for 18 months for dangerous driving.
Well, sadly, Ben's case is not unusual, with a number of similar incidents occurring this past year alone. From head-on collisions to mounting pavements and even driving the wrong way down motorways, like this 77-year-old driver who, after driving the wrong way down the M6, smashed into a police car at 70 miles per hour.
He's gonna hit, he's gonna hit, he's gonna hit us!
Statistics show that per mile driven, older motorists are overrepresented in fatal crashes, with elderly drivers being 16% more likely than adult drivers to cause an accident. But despite the rising number of tragic incidents, the DVLA only requires drivers aged 70 and over to complete a self-assessment form every 3 years, not taking eyesight, health or reaction speed into consideration.
Well, Ben joins us now ahead of a new campaign for drivers over 70. He's also joined by 70-year-old motorist Kevin Delaney, who thinks that every driver should retake tests, not just those of a certain age. Welcome, both of you. What happened on that day in 2012?
We'd spent the day with friends in West London, and we left their house about 8 p.m. that evening, put our son Jackson in his pushchair. He just turned 2. Walked up the road a little. I had him in the pushchair. My wife was a couple of steps behind me, and then a car came speeding around the corner, and I immediately thought it was a police chase. I thought it would be a young person, but it turns out that it was an 83-year-old driver who'd mistaken the accelerator for the brake and was travelling at 54 in a 20-mile-per-hour zone. So my son's pushchair was skimmed. A bit of the wheel came off. I found out later in court. And my wife was hit and killed. She died at the scene.
It was actually an incident in Guildford, though, that's prompted your campaign, wasn't it?
That's right. So I think it was an 87-year-old driver mounted the pavement and struck a few people in Guildford town centre a few weeks ago. And it was when I saw the news about that, there was a really emotive scene where they pulled out the pushchair, which looked like a little red car, from the wreckage and put it on top as police evidence. And that just triggered that memory for me about what had happened to us.
How many more times?
Yeah, and it was about the 4th in a month as well that I'd read about, and I thought, I have to say something now, I have to speak out.
So what is the point of the campaign? What do you want to see changed?
What I'm asking for is age-appropriate retesting. So at the moment, that needs to be defined exactly what that is. But I'm not looking for people to go and do the same test they did when they were 17, because things change. It's a fact that reaction's slow. People's eyesight gets worse. It deteriorates from the 50s anyway. So it's looking at all of these things and examining whether or not these, certain individuals are safe to still be on the road, based on medication, medical insight, all of these different things.
OK, well...
Kevin, do you agree?
Yes, I do, in part. I mean, first, let me offer my condolences. I've never experienced this at first hand, but I have dealt with enough fatal crashes to know the effect that it has on people's relatives. I have no idea how I would have responded, probably not as constructively as Benjamin has. I think let's start with some facts. You can pick and choose your statistics. Older drivers, if you just look at the actual number of crashes they have, are actually the least likely to be involved in crash of any age group. But, and there is a but, the older population is increasing, and I'm part of it. A long way we continue. Something, I think, has got to be done. And my own view is that where one starts it, if one does start this process with older drivers, fine. But I think that, here we are in the 21st century. I cannot believe that you can actually get a licence that allows you to go out and take control of a tonne plus of metal, capable of travelling along the road at a speed probably faster than you can think, and you don't have to have any form of medical examination. You just tick a box. When I reached 70, I ticked a box. So I really do believe that anybody who applies for a driving licence should have an eyesight test and enough of a medical test to show that they are unlikely to sort of lose control of the vehicle through medical reasons at any stage, and every time they renew their licence. So 17, every 10 years thereafter, and when you reach 70, every 3 years thereafter that. You know, the road safety benefits would probably be there, but a general benefit in terms of health would be there.
So this is across the board in licence applications, not just targeting those who are over 70?
That's absolutely right. I mean, for people who reach my age, I think rather than a formal driving test, some form of, excuse me, either formal or informal assessment.
But they, I mean, people would be saying that resources are very stretched at the moment in all departments, and actually if you're doing health checks and for that sort of thing, it's more likely to be an older generation. So therefore, with all this cuts in budgets, would it not be better at this moment in the current climate to just do it to those people where it's more likely to affect them?
I think if you're going to start it somewhere, then why not? You know, sort of maybe start it at both ends. Start it with the first licence applications and then also with people at 70. But I do think that there is a strong case to be made for drivers of my age to actually have some means of checking how we are driving now. Now, whether that's your local driving instructor, who will happily take you for an hour's drive and tell you at the end of it what he or she thinks of your driving, or whether it's a national organisation like IAM who run a mature driver's assessment, which I took when I hit 70, just to put my money where my mouth was. I don't think it matters. It is simply a means of actually sort of taking some form of assessment that points out your strengths and your weaknesses and allows you to continue with your mobility, either knowing that you can do so safely or actually highlighting the problem areas you need to address.
Ben, the Institute for Civil Justice say that older drivers pose much less risk to the public than do drivers under 25, who are 188% likelier than other drivers to cause an accident. The Department of Transport says it's got no plans to restrict licensing or mandate extra training on the basis of age. So you've had nearly 200,000 signatures so far on your petition. What sort of official response have you had?
There's not been an official response yet. The petition through change.org has had a massive reaction, and actually what's been great is people like Kevin have got in touch and said, you know, initially I saw the headlines and disagreed, but now I've read into it more. I'm 60, 70, 80, and I do completely agree with you. I'm waiting to hear back from my local MP, Harriet Harman. I've addressed her directly, and from the Secretary of State for Transport as well, but no word yet.
OK.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
What sort of comments have you had?
Well, Debbie said the rules have changed so much since old people started driving. I see a lot of old drivers that shouldn't be on the road because things have changed so much. Ruth says, I think all drivers should have to retake their test every 10 years. It's not just the elderly who can be dangerous on the road. Peter agrees. I think all drivers should be forced to retake their test every 5 to 10 years. If you're good enough, what's the problem?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.